Kansas. Shefty, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Hey, you look great. Which one did you prefer, that one or the Kirk Cousins get up from last year when you rocked all the chains?
I think that was 2022.
Oh, it was 2 years ago. Okay, which one did you prefer?
Yeah. They both were interesting. Listen, I can honestly say the Cousins one, I pitched for RG3 to do after he did the Come On Man of Kirk Cousins. We were doing Come On Man. He was doing Kirk Cousins taking off his shirt, the chains, and I'm like, Robert, you got to take your shirt off after, and we got to come out to you with your shirt off. And he's like, my wife will be against it. And I'm like, it'd be so good if you did that. And then we got in the car, and my producer at the time, Matt Garrett's like, oh, would you do it? I'm like, I guess. Yeah, okay. And we did it, and I remember being on the field, and firstly, you take your shirt off in the Superdome, and it's cold there.
Right.
That's the first thing. The second thing was there was a marching band on the field, and I noticed that as soon as I took my shirt off, I guess everybody was so mortified. The entire band was looking over. The entire band was looking over me. I go, okay, this has gotten the attention of a group of people. And when I got back to my phone that night, there were like 30. I took it off. I got my phone back about 60 seconds after I was on TV, and there were about 30 texts from random people across the NFL, like some serious coaches and GMs, like were cracking up on the couch. This one was not like that. I think that, people, I think some people tuned in later and they saw me doing news updates in the mummer's outfit and they had no idea what the hell was going on.
Right.
They didn't realize that it was connected to Jason Kelce. It was all in honor of Jason Kelce, a tribute to Jason Kelce. And in this particular case, one of my producers suggested that I do it about a month ago. I'm like, if you want me to do it, I will. No problem. You let me know. And one of the other production coordinators was able to procure the outfit from one of the shops in Philly and put it on and walked out. And there were a lot of heads turning as I was walking out to the field. And in fact, one of the very first people I saw as I walked onto the field was Kirk Cousins. And he's like, what are you doing? And so obviously it was just designed to honor our teammate Jason Kelce on his return to Philadelphia.
I would tell you that the question is, what are you doing, that Kirk Cousins asked you, is exactly what I would love to ask is, how do you make the decision that they made, third down, after a timeout? Falcons have no timeouts.
Yeah.
Make the decision to put the ball at risk when all they had to do was run the football. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I think if they had run the football, I think Atlanta still would have gotten back the ball with a little bit of time.
Would have been like 57 seconds left.
Right? Okay. So I think that obviously Nick felt like he was going for the kill shot there. And if Saquon simply catches it, it's over the game. And he did. And again, to me, you run the football. And it's very easy to get on Nick Sirianni. And I'm not saying it's wrong. But football, it's one of the reasons that I believe this sport is popular as it is. You've got a situation where basically the coach, whatever the coach decides, if it works, he's brilliant and bold and daring. And if it doesn't, he's an idiot. And it's that simple. Okay? Yeah. The percentages were he should have run. Okay? So on the surface, he did not make the right call. And by the way, like, he's done that before. That's been his DNA. If you remember the Jet game, I believe it was week 5 last year, he threw the ball in a similar spot. So that's who he is. And that's what he does. And sometimes it works. Like,
then why not go for it on that? You see, now here's what I understand.
Right.
Then why not go for it on fourth down then?
Well, how about this? I'll go back earlier. I remember the game started, and I know that all these coaches are into all these analytics, and I'm old school to a certain extent. But they got down there to the 5-6 yard line to open the game and went for it on fourth down, maybe the 3 yard line.
That was the second possession they did that, and they didn't kick the field goal.
Right, and it was 0-0 at the time, correct?
Yes.
Right. I'm in favor of getting on the board first, especially at home, I don't care that it's a field. But again, it's easy in hindsight to say these things. Now, if they had gone for it on the second possession of the game and scored, we would have been like, Nick Sirianni, so bold, so daring, goes for it. What a great coach. Like, my favorite example of this of all time is Sean Payton in the Super Bowl. In the second half, he opens up with an onside kick.
Right. Sure.
They get it. They win the Super Bowl. Sean Payton changed the trajectory of his career. Okay? From that point on, he's a brilliant coach who will do anything. He's got a Super Bowl on his resume. What a great coach. If he does that and Indianapolis recovers, he is criticized and ripped for his remaining years as a coach. That's the idiot who decided to try the onside kick in the Super Bowl foolishly and didn't get it done.
But here's my biggest problem with the Sirianni stuff. It seems like, and we talked about this yesterday on the show, it seems like he's almost having like an identity crisis. You know, if John Harbaugh scores a touchdown, go for two. Right, like you know what John Harbaugh is going to do every single game. There's no questioning it. You know that Doug Peterson, when he was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, 4th and 4, 4th and 6, 4th and 8, he's going for it. Nick Sirianni, one drive he wants to be aggressive. The next drive he doesn't want to listen to the analytics. Like it almost seems like he's questioning his own morals, and that started in the Super Bowl 2 years ago when he was aggressive all year, and then in the biggest game of the year, he went against what he did all season that got him to that point.
Yeah, right. You got to make up your mind who you are and be that guy. And I get that. That's fair. I still come back to my point being the right one, that you are as smart as you are if it works, and you're as much of a moron as you are if it doesn't. And it's that simple. It's that simple.
By the way, one of our listeners was taking a tab yesterday between Fox and ESPN. 15 ex-NFL players, 13 disagreed with even ever risking it there and throwing it. And 2 said, yeah, I see the excitement in it. I just don't.
No, listen, I think everybody could agree the right call is to
run the ball.
Is to run the football. That's the right call.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I don't understand how you let that slip away, and it just doesn't. Especially when you refused a penalty earlier to make them have an extra down, so that you could manipulate clock. What Nick Sirianni does strategy-wise, I got to tell you, Adam, I wouldn't trust him in a game of Candyland. I wouldn't.
Yep. I got it. By the way, the Philly special. That's an example of being aggressive as well, right?
Yeah, but Doug did it all year.
Yeah, but Doug, that was his MO consistently.
Yeah.
And that was my problem with Sirianni, was that it seems like one drive he wants to be aggressive and listen to analytics, the next drive he doesn't. We're speaking to Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline. Shefty, so a lot of people after yesterday, and I get it, the day after a game is an emotional day for a lot of people, especially if it's a loss, but a lot of people started bringing up last season again. And you and I have had this conversation. We have moved on. It is 2024. But is it fair for people in a Week 2 disappointing loss to immediately start questioning, are there issues from last year carrying over? I would like you to address the people that are doing that.
Well, I wouldn't expect anybody but you to ask that question, Andrew.
Thank you. I take that as an honor.
Listen, I think there are scars from last year, inevitably, that are there on the body of the 2024 Eagles. There are scars. Do I think that impacts their performance on I don't. But I mean, it's in the background. It hangs out there. You start worrying. Is this team going to start performing? But it's a different team. It is a different team. They've made a number of changes. We've talked all about the additions of the coordinators and the different personnel. So they've done things different. It's not the same team. It's just not. Now, everybody's so haunted by last year, and rightfully so, that you start wondering that. That's natural, I guess. But I don't believe that last year is a part of this year. I don't.
Do you know of any general manager who was ever allowed to hire 4 coaches? I can't think of one in the history of the NFL.
Tom Telesco with the Chargers.
He got to hire 4 different coaches.
I'm
just trying to think. Yeah.
Mike Tannenbaum. You're asking me off the top of my head, and I guarantee it's happened.
Okay,
it's happened.
Okay, has it happened? Has it happened with a good organization?
I'd have to go back and get the list.
I'd like to know, and seriously, I would be interested in knowing, because to me, is that I put as much of any questions people have about this Eagles defense, I put it at the door of Howie Roseman, who picked all the talent, who spent the money on all the free agent talent, who was aggressive in the draft. And I agreed with a lot of the moves. So I'm not saying like I'm some expert and he's an idiot. But these moves, what Vic Fangio is trying to do, make chicken salad out of chicken, is a lot of times based on the fact of the decisions that his general manager made.
But we've said this. We've said that the defense had holes. We said it wasn't a perfect defense. We said there were issues with this unit. We knew that. We're 2 games in. And you wouldn't be saying that if Saquon caught the ball, John.
Oh, no. We would be talking about the defense. We would be talking about how the defense this team has no pass rush, Adam. That would have been the headline, not the Saquon pass, as you're correct on that.
Okay, that's fair.
We would have been all over. This pass rush is an embarrassment. This lack of pass rush is an embarrassment. The lack of development early on from the Georgia players is an embarrassment right now. So, I mean, then these are the stories that people are talking about here today.
But again, to our point, they get accentuated and highlighted when you don't win.
Yep.
So when you don't win, that's what is now going to carry you through the week on this show, and going to be an issue for this team on Sunday against the tough New Orleans Saints team that we didn't think was going to be as tough as they are, but they're much tougher in large part, I think, due to the hiring of offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak straight from the Shanahan tree. He's done a great job. I mean, they're putting up record numbers right now, which is unbelievable to think about. But you would think, you would like to hope as an Eagles fan that the defense will get better as the season goes on. They'll improve. And if they don't, then you guys have a lot to talk about. All season long.
We sure do. It's an easy week already. It's already Wednesday, Schefty. Last thing before we let you go, and we appreciate your time as always. Curious to get your opinion, and then the people that you talk to on a daily basis, what they have said about the offenses through the first 2 weeks of the NFL. I saw a number yesterday where there were 69 passing touchdowns through the first 2 weeks league-wide, whereas a couple of years ago, it was around 110. So it's basically been cut in half. Clearly, offenses are a little slower out of the gate this season, and they were slow last year as well. What do people make of that around the NFL?
Well, last weekend, I believe there were more field goals last weekend than there ever were on a single weekend in NFL history last weekend.
Wow.
And we're seeing more field goals, fewer touchdown passes. And, again, I've got a few theories for this. My number one theory would be that there are more and more teams that have basically punted on the preseason, that say we're not going to play our regulars, we don't care about rust early on, we're not getting our key guys hurt. I think that's number one. So, in essence, week 1 becomes preseason. Week 2 almost is like the final week of the preseason. And week 3 should be when the numbers are different. Now, if the touchdowns don't go up this weekend, I'd be very surprised and curious, but certainly possible. I think that's one of the factors as to why, that's the biggest factor as to why touchdowns are down and field goals are up, because offenses are rusty. Everybody's rusty right now, and they're working out the kinks. I think another reason is we have had more young quarterbacks start the season than ever before. I think 24 of the 32 quarterbacks were all under the age of 30. It had been the highest number ever. And I think that you're seeing right away, the Bears turned to Caleb Williams, and the Commanders turned to Jaden Daniels, and the Broncos turned to Bo Nix. And young quarterbacks, usually, even C.J. Stroud, as great as he was last year, are not going to hit the ground running. It's just not going to happen. So we've got 3 rookie quarterbacks starting, a high number of young quarterbacks in general, when nobody plays in the preseason. Like, Jaden Daniels played one series against the Jets, and they benched him the rest of the preseason.
Yeah.
I remember when I covered the Broncos, the preseason formula was always the same. John Elway would play the first series or 2 of the first preseason game. He'd play a half of the second preseason game, maybe a quarter. And then the third preseason game, he'd play a half. The fourth one, he wouldn't play at all. There were 4 preseason games. The players got work in 3 of them. And then on opening day, they were ready to rock and roll. Not the way it happens anymore.
All right.
So, those are my theories.
Schefter, you're the man. We appreciate it as always. We can't wait to talk to you next week. And we're looking forward to see what you're wearing next Monday night. It won't be as incredible as the Mummers costume that you had this past Monday, but we'll be paying attention.
2 things. I will not have a Mummers costume on, and I will have my shirt on. And my last point of the day, it's raining in Philly. Drive safely to work.
Damn right. There it is,
Good
Schefty.
job.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. There he is, Adam Schefter.
Schefty gives
yes, it does. It hits even more.